Mr. Houlihan,
Yep.
do you ever get to January after the 1st? Maybe it's the 2nd or 3rd. Maybe it's the 8th, 9th, 10th. Maybe it's January 6th, 7th. I don't know.
Okay.
But do you ever get to one of those days where you just you're exhausted? You're feeling like it's a slump and you don't have that. You're not anticipating things are coming up. It's like it's all over and I'm just exhausted and I just want to curl up and not do anything.
You mean like I don't have that same verve and vitality and that zip in my step that I have all throughout the holidays? Is that what you're referring
vitality? Yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't that and the idea that it's winter. It's dark outside most of the time.
Yeah,
it's
right.
colder. Is there something structurally different about January than about December?
Yeah, and we have to be directing our comments toward our listeners in the Northern Hemisphere, because if you're in Sydney right now or in Perth or Melbourne, you're going, dude, these are the longest light days of the year.
True. Sorry about that. We are very Northern Hemisphere centric here. But yeah, for us, right? Since we don't live in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. So I would answer your question by saying yes.
Yeah. I think I think there's something there. I don't necessarily have research to do it, but we talk about, people setting New Year's resolutions and goals at the new year and all of this, but there's some aspect of that there is, although it's a new year and it feels fresh, there's that fresh start. There's also this, we've just come through a highly emotional, intensive period for many people around the holidays, New Year's, Christmas, if you celebrate that, Hanukkah, if you celebrate that, just the end of the year work components that are usually a flurry of activity. And there's this sense of it's done. Now the horizon that we're looking out to is much longer, where, it's a fresh start, but it's the full year of 2026 coming up.
Yeah.
It is no longer, this is happening next week, next month.
And yet, the difference between December 27th and January 3rd is 1 week. It's 7 days. And what's the difference between those 7 days? And I think it has to do with these artificial dates that they make a difference for us. Katie Milkman's work on that fresh start heuristic, this idea of I will start my workout routine on Monday, or I will start it on my birthday, or I'll start it on Labor Day, or name the day. But
January 1st, the new year, is one of the best fresh starts.
It really is. But I think at the same time, there's also something to be said about just our neurological and biological setup, where it's not a bad thing to get through all this and then sort of rusticate a little bit. And by the way, I'm not talking about months. We're not bears sleeping in the woods. But I do think that there might be something about taking a day or two to invest some time in thinking about where have I been, right? This is a great time to, before you set the goals, to reflect and to have a little bit of self-reflection and self-awareness as to where have I been? What does it mean to me?
I will even take you further. I don't think it's just a day or two. I think it can be a week or 2 weeks. I think there is this period of hey, let's just calm. I don't need to jump into first quarter planning and year-long planning and get really, I need to, take a deep breath. We've come through the holidays. I need to just let my body regenerate, but more importantly, let my brain, as I said, or what you said on this reflection aspect, I think is key. There is that ability for us that we often forego to reflect. And we do it at the end of the year sometimes too, but I think at the beginning of the new year is a really good time to do that. And I think that our bodies naturally kind of do this, all right, we were hyped. It's like at the, you're hyped for a game, you're playing, and then the game's over, and it's like, your body, there's a change in your body. All those pains that you were able to ignore, all of that, it's like, oh, they're back, and you have to address them. So
Yeah, I I'm aware of the fact that businesses need to keep going, and that if you work in a corporate environment, there's going to be new initiatives. There's going to be setting big first quarter objectives. There's going to be national sales meetings. There's going to be a whole variety of things that are kicking off the first of the year. And at the same time, uh, I think that it's worth actually kind of going, okay, maybe I just need to be a little bit self reflective about how I'm going to participate in all this, and about how I want to show up in all
I
this
think
stuff.
leaders need to be aware of that for their employees, particularly.
Yes. Yep.
We tend to look at the world from our own um, viewpoint. Like, this
That's
is how
weird.
I show up.
Why would we do that?
This is how I show up, and therefore everybody else is
Yeah.
similar to me,
Yeah.
right? We as much as we like to think we are empathetic and we can put ourselves in other people's shoes, we don't do a good job of that. And leaders oftentimes have a much more of a go 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 personality, and not realizing that many of their employees may not have that. They may need more of that downtime, more of that reflection time to come back and be ready to go and hit the things. And maybe it isn't 2 weeks, maybe it is just a few days, but understand that there is that refresh that people need to have. We talk about in the work that we do with our behavior shift, our change components, and kind of the journaling and our planners and different pieces of that, that people need to do what we call brain breaks throughout the day. And I think there is also a larger component of that. And so there's really good research that shows, like, look, if even just a 5 minute break every 90 minutes or a 15-minute break during the day where you disengage your brain from what it was doing and hard thinking, to give it a reprise, to give it this a moment to shift gears, slow down, allow that to recharge, reinvigorate yourself, and you come back much better. And I think the same thing can be happening on an annual basis. It just happens on a little bigger scale. So you need a larger brain break.
Well, I'd also add that managers, leaders, and organizations can help uh, deal with that sort of downslope side in energy by also giving people that irrational thing of looking forward to something, right? Because it's easy to get ramped up in energy as we're heading into the holidays. We're heading into the end of the quarter, which isn't going to happen for 3 months from January 1st. But you can create some artificial milestones to be targeting, to say, let's work on getting this done in this particular period of time. Uh, and the shorter the time frame, the better. Like, let's actually carve out some milestone goals that contribute to our keystone goals, so that we can actually make some progress and start to feel good about what we're doing, get that energy back up, right?
After we give our people their
Sometimes.
downtime to be
Good.
able to do it. I think you're bringing up a really good point, though. So there is this aspect, again, January is fundamentally different than December. It's a new year, again, demarcation in the big scheme of the world. Like, why is January 1 the New Year's versus July 18th or whatever it is? But it is, right? I mean, it would make more sense if it was December 21st, right? After the winter solstice. That's not the case.
Yeah.
This facet, though, I think there is a fundamental difference, because, as you said, we don't have there aren't those major holidays that are readily there. Valentine's Day comes in February, but that's a
Mm.
different thing, right? And we don't have something to look forward to as much. Again, northern hemisphere folks, our days are shorter. In December it was like we are getting into it. Now it's just the grind. It's like, oh my God, it's like still dark at 5 o'clock. I just it feels like it's lasted for a long time, you get sad, right? You get that um, depressed from some of that component of not having that sunshine and different pieces of that. You have fundamentally different. So your idea of like, what can we do to give people, show them progress and allow them to meet their needs in shorter chunks, I think is really on target.
And get some energy from some quick wins,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know,
Fast starts. I mean, we've talked about this from an incentive perspective
yeah,
all the time.
for years.
That is amazingly successful
Yeah.
is start quick because you get people starting quick and then they're going. So again, give your people time to recharge the day at two, whatever. Make sure you're not just going, from holidays rushing to, Q1 planning or, doing this. But then once you do that, it's like, all right, let's do something that we can get people off to a quick start.
Right.
They've come back, they've had that downtime, they're refreshed. Now give them something to hope for, something to strive for, something to go after and show that progress and get a quick win.
Right. Because we know the research absolutely supports this idea that if you get started faster, you're much more likely to hit your goals. Now, who knows what's going to happen throughout the quarter or the first 6 months of the whole year? There's ambiguity, uncertainty, all that. However, getting started fast can absolutely make the difference. Okay. Anything else, Kurt?
I think that kind of wraps it up for me. I think for many people, if you want to get some of this information, into your organization and work with Tim or me to help you figure out a way of doing this or providing some workshops to help people in that process, we are definitely available, and you can just ping us and we'll pick up the phone.
Absolutely. And so hopefully you'll use some of these cool ideas to help you and your team this week as you go out and find your groove.